Hello and welcome to the Film Ireland podcast. I'm Gemma Creagh, and this December I attended the IndieCork Film Festival. First up, I spoke with festival director Una Feely about the changes to this year's festival and all the wonderful films they received. So thank you so much. Oh my God, it's been a lovely festival so far. A lovely kind of Christmassy vibe. So tell me, what was your highlights?
Well, in one way, I'd say, Gemma, a big highlight is getting to do the festival, because normally we're on in early October. So this year we had to move to December because our venue, the Arc Cinema, was closed for a fabulous new refurbishment. So we stuck with the venue, decided that we will put the festival on when the venue is ready, and that saw us move to this the week before Christmas.
So you get people celebrating.
Get people celebrating, and also the excitement and kind of challenge, if I'm honest as well, of going into a new building from day one, same day the festival opened. But we have great partners in the Arc Cinema, and so we pulled together, and thankfully we're on second last day now and everything's been going really well. And actually, funnily enough, I think audiences have been welcoming having something to go to before Christmas that doesn't involve shopping and being on the street. So they've been coming into the cinema, which is fabulously luxurious now with reclining seats and something very new for Cork City.
So it is so gorgeous. It's so cinematic, actually. The aesthetic of it when you're in there, and really luxurious. Tell me a little bit about how has the program been? Like, what was your highlights of it so far?
Well, start the programming year by getting our entries in, and this year we had nearly 3,000 entries. And from those entries, we whittle it down to just 40 international shorts, about 100 Irish shorts, a small number of features and documentaries. So it sort of slowly comes together over a few months, and we sort of look at the different flavours and see what we're missing, what we need more of. But this year we were really happy that, like, IndieCork is really strong for short films. So we have a lot of short films from all over the world, but particularly Cork and Irish filmmakers as well. But we added a layer this year of international films from all over the world. So we have Kazakhstan, Japan, Chile, a real spread of film. And I think that sort of brought a different kind of view to the festival, that it's not that it was missing, but it's just more kind of delineated. And so the programme, I feel, is richer because of that.
Was there any, like, I know filmmakers submit shorts, were there any themes maybe that you could see in the films that you were going in? When you get that much work, is there anything that you can see, like how people are processing like all the troubles that are there? Do you know, it's like, say there's a lot of homelessness shorts.
Yeah. There's definitely, I think, short filmmakers are definitely working through and covering different issues, like besides the aesthetics of it and their artistic vision. You know, you're seeing things, as you said, homelessness actually does come up in it, but also just the pressures that young people are under, you know, the pressures of making their way in the world, where they're going to be, who they are. All of that comes up, and they're handling it in their work. And I think short films have this kind of immediacy to them as well, that filmmakers can just pick up their camera, they can do a small shoot, and they're just tackling those issues, definitely.
And has there been a response from the audience so far? Like, what has the feedback been?
The feedback is really good. I mean, last night we had Trish McAdams' film Songs of Blood and Destiny, which is outstanding and really individual, like, strong piece of artistic work. And
shows the importance of performance, how the weight of performance, that, like, you know, I mean, her visuals are gorgeous, but that stripped back is so, like, it just reaches out, and it's so confronting the way it's performed as well.
Yeah, I think obviously Marina Carr's poem I Girl was Trish's source, but I think Trish has brought all her kind of mastery of cinema to it, and it's just such a statement. It's hard to imagine anything like it in Irish cinema or anything that could come. But I just think Trish is such an interesting filmmaker. There's other filmmakers in the festival, like we have Mieke Vanmechelen here, who's just about to show her Hungry Hill. Again, a beautiful, really individual piece of work that she co-directed with Michael Holly. And that sold out tonight, which is great to see that there's an appetite here in Cork, I think, for adventurous cinema.
And would you ever be tempted to do a Christmas festival again, or is it back to October?
Well, later tonight we have an IndieCork nativity, so we're showing Christmas shorts down in our beautiful festival offices, City Trust House.
As well, I saw that.
Yeah. Too soon to say. I'd say we probably need to have our Christmases and then reflect on it in the new year. But I think ultimately we're very happy with the early October slot. You know, it's a great time for students back in the city, and yeah, it's probably a little bit more relaxed than the week before Christmas.
Oh, God. Oh, thank you so much. It's a wonderful lineup, and it's great to be down in Cork again.
Thank you, Gemma.
I caught up with documentary filmmaker Mieke Vanmechelen about her sensory, contemplative, sheep-laden film Hungry Hill. So, congratulations on your film. It's really gorgeous and lovely to see it on a big screen. Can you tell me about when it came together and working on it?
So Hungry Hill took a long time to make. It took really 2 years to bring it to a final stage, and then now we've been really busy with it since August. The premiere was in Galway, and busy in a nice way. And Michael Holly is my co-director, so it's great that there are two of us, because we share the load, and we've done that right from the beginning, from coming up with the whole concept to the production, and now this stage. And it's our first proper feature film that we've worked on together, so it's really good to have that working relationship.
And chat to me about the Arts Council scheme. So was this an idea that you were working on before you submitted, or was it something that you comprised for it?
Well, I've always... I never comprise something specifically for funding, because if you don't have something authentic, then it shows, in my opinion. So, I mean, I had this dream of making this film, and I approached Michael to see if he would be interested in working with me on it, and then that was more than a year before we applied, and I had an awful lot of work to do, because there was an awful lot of there's an awful lot of archive in it, and archive's expensive, so I had to do a lot of negotiating and talking and planning, and so when all that was ready, that was when I could finally make an application. And I probably would have made some sort of film, not to the standard that this film is, if I hadn't been able to access the funding. But funding's essential for to master the sound, to grade it, to bring it up to industry standard. It's really, really important.
Deliverables, so that you can screen it at festivals, just then submitting it to festivals. It's such an expensive process as well.
Yeah, without the Arts Council, it just wouldn't have happened in that way. So yeah, it's really been so good for us, really, and we're hoping to continue in this way, and it's hard to do that without the backing, obviously. Yeah. We are, I think in Ireland we are so lucky with our funders, and I do think something like this, especially the Arts Council, it's something that is sort of observational, definitely important, that it captures a moment. It makes these very interesting comparisons, but then also we spend time in this kind of sensory experience of that. Tell me about you knew it was something you wanted to develop. You wanted to kind of have the two comparisons side by side of these two different worlds and these two different eras, and show that. What was it actually like then implementing it, going to shoot it? Was it a much more physically grueling task? Well, there are so many aspects to this film, and a lot of it happened during the edit. I was actively farming while I was filming, so the boundaries are very blurred sometimes. I'm actually working while I'm filming, which comes across, and that's the sensory side. And
I love all the swearing. I think it's so enjoyable, because you just get that, fuck it.
Yeah,
the frustration of the physical. Yeah,
my son isn't too happy about it, but because that's what sheep do to you, to be honest. They bring out the swearer in you, But I wanted to say, I very much
relied on Michael's academic background. We share an interest in sensory ethnography, so pushing those boundaries and being able to do that was really important, and taking risks, and so I think we've done that, but a lot of it happened during the edit. It wasn't something we had completely fully formed before we started working, and there's a huge amount of footage still in my back catalogue that was never used.
And it, like, the edit process, was this something that you would do as you're filming and make it bigger? Was it something that you compiled everything and sat down in one big chunk and then left it? How does that, because it seems like such an organic style of film, I'm just very curious to how it manifested.
It was an intuitive process, the filming and the editing, and I had to wait quite some time before I felt ready to start editing, and it took me a couple of months before I could begin that process. So I suppose I did it in stages, and very much just very spontaneously worked on it. And Michael came to look at the edit a couple of times, and the first edit was very a little bit chaotic, I think. Yeah. And we had some hard conversations, and then it started to take shape. And
that's a very interesting point. So you're saying, as a collaborative kind of pair, like, do you feel like that challenges you? Like, just someone to be kind of upfront to argue for a point to make it a better film, the pair of you. So were you editing it alone and then showing it to Michael?
Yeah.
Or was it, interesting.
I was, and then he'd give me criticism, and it made a lot of sense. And he'd also say this part I don't think it should be there. Why is it there? And then I'd say, well, it's there for this reason. And then, oh, okay, well, yeah, that makes sense. So there was a great exchange. And also the sound, Tony's sound, once that came along, and that came more towards the end, but that was really the final kind of cherry on the top, in a way. That makes it, that does so much to the film always, and the quality of it as well.
Definitely, that's the most immersive part of it. I think you can feel that, the machinery, the kind of sound of the landscape, like, it really kind of gives that intensity to it when you're watching it. When you were editing it, did you have to go back and film sections? Like, is that when you see that, maybe things aren't working pacing wise? What would you...
Yeah, there was a point at which we thought we were there, and I remember saying to Michael, I think Michael did all the shots on Hungry Hill. We have no grass in this, nothing. It's also bleak. And very much towards the end, Michael went back in the middle of summer and went up the mountain, and when everything was lush and green, and it was lovely. And that was a really nice way to end the film. So yeah, it starts to tell you what it needs at a certain point, and it's a really nice way of working.
And the lambs were lovely. They were so cute.
Yeah, that was, like I said, I was really working with them that day. So, and yeah, that it's nice to be able to include those genuine parts of the farming year in it. Yeah. One
of the things that's so enjoyable to watch, I think, I just never realised how bold sheep were. They're like so bold.
Without going on about sheep too much, I mean, there are so many different types of sheep, and the ones that we own are hill sheep, so they're really fast and they can jump very high. It's not like lowland sheep that are more docile. So there is a variation, and there's a difference. Yeah.
And what has the reception been to the film? Like, kind of people in the, like, it's kind of documenting a piece of time, capturing a community.
It's changed my life, I think, considerably, because I made this about people that I know and that are living quite close to me, and this may fade in time, but I do feel it's had an impact. And there's a huge interest locally. And we screened it in the Mart in Kenmare, and it was really quite an occasion, and it just recently screened again in Kenmare to a full theatre. So I think it's intriguing people, because it's not what you would expect. it makes people question, it makes people think. It mightn't necessarily be what they want to hear, but I think if it causes a change in perspective, it's a good thing, and this film hopefully will continue to do that.
And is there anything that you sort of, because it's such a big process, like you cover so much in it, you really get everyone involved, there's such a sense of community to the film. Is there anything you learned from it that you'll bring on to your next project? Or what would you kind of say was your main lesson?
Well, I've learned about my own work that people think, oh, you're the artist that works in farming, in art. Your art is always about the rural, and that's not the case now, and I've learned that. My art's about embedded knowledge and embodied knowledge, and it's about being in a place and knowing the people and having really good relationships with them and gathering trust and kind of highlighting things that are possibly overlooked and sometimes considered irrelevant, but they're actually not. They're really important. And that's what the core of my practice is about, and I've learned that I can probably make a film just about anywhere as long as I'm invested in the place and the people.
Brilliant. And you're on your way to a sold-out screening tonight, so thank you so much for chatting with us, and we'll let you go.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
The celebration for Best Emerging Female Director Award took place at an all-woman filmmaker reception in the bustling Maureen's Bar in Shandon. I caught a quick chat with filmmaker Sarah Corcoran.
So my film is called Unseen Guest. It's kind of an experimental short documentary. I just wanted to document the house that my father grew up in and that his father grew up in, it's kind of like a time capsule in a way, just full of lots of religious iconography. And I just kind of wanted to tell the story of the family and the house through symbolism and imagery and the objects that were left over, and hopefully communicate the kind of residual energy that was left.
Fabulous. And does it touch on dark and interesting themes like intergenerational trauma and
that's exactly what it touches on. So it kind of I allude to things like alcoholism and suicide, which are pretty heavy, but it's kind of unfortunately a lot of Irish family story, I think. But I did aim to make it feel a lot more hopeful at the end, because I think there is a lot of healing happening with transgenerational trauma, as we kind of free ourselves from some of the kind of Catholic guilt and shame.
And one of the first things I think is acknowledging it, and art is one of the forms I think that's really important in processing it the whole way through it. So and how did you get into film? What's your background? You mentioned fashion.
Yeah, so I've always been really into film, since I was a teenager, just watching film. I did fashion styling for about 10 years and art direction, and through working on music videos and short film with that, I kind of naturally became interested in directing my own projects then.
Fabulous. And what was it like watching it in a hometown, basically?
It was amazing, yeah, because I shot it in Shandon, and I live in Shandon, and the gate is so close, so it was kind of like a weird full circle thing, and I just felt kind of it was nice to memorise my family in that way as well. They probably never thought that they'd be kind of immortalised like that, so it was actually really nice that it was so close to home, yeah.
Oh, and do you have the sort of bug now? Are you going to go on and do your next 3 or 4 ones planned?
Yeah, I have a few already in the kind of the planning stages and the idea stages, and thinking about I started shooting one myself already, just with myself as the actor, so that's kind of fun just to play around with all the different kind of roles of filmmaking. I really like a lot of the roles involved, and yeah, just a few other things that will be more collaborations as well that I'm working on. Yeah.
Great, we can't wait to see it. Thank you so much.
IndieCork will be back to its regular slot, not that close to Christmas, so submit your film now via Film Freeway.